everybody, Mike Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer Hobby Supply. We're going to do video update 15, and I don't want to spoil it. We'll just see what it's about. Okay, everybody, tonight we have good news, and that news is, and you've probably already guessed, Robin raised hell with the city inspection department today. They were all very nice with the city and so forth, but I think I've already spoken to you and told you that I couldn't get my electrician to call back. He wouldn't answer his phone and everything. We had an appointment with the city today to have an inspection done, and they were supposed to call the electrician. The electrician was supposed to get with him, and they were supposed to do a virtual inspection. When they called him, apparently, because nothing was happening, Robin realized, I was at the fairgrounds, but when Robin realized nothing was happening, she called the city again and said, "What's going on?" And they said, "Well, we called for the inspection, called his phone number, and he didn't answer his phone." Well, she immediately went ballistic, and she called up our general contractor, as I said we've had to do to get a hold of him. And about the time she was going to speak to the general contractor, one of his employees pulled into the driveway with a pickup truck. She lit into him like the poor guy was on fire. But anyways, as it turned out, here's how it all turned out. I was at the fairgrounds. Robin had called me many times to keep me abreast of what was going on. I came home about 2 o'clock, 2:30 maybe. And when I got here, the owner of the electrical company and 2 workers were here. They were here because their line that they had buried from the shed to the house was only about 12 inches deep, and it was supposed to be 18 inches deep. So the general, I had already spoken in a previous day to the inspector, the actual inspector, and he said that it needed to be 18 inches. I said, well, I don't know, when they put it in, it looked like 18 inches to me. Well, I dug a hole this morning and it was only 12 inches. So, that being said, when they got here, the owner of the electric company and his 2 employees dug that up in a couple of spots and got that rectified to the point where we could bend that a little bit, and actually did 18 inches in 2 different spots. They had to change the pipe at the house where it came up, and they dug it up for a ways and lowered one enough that they could get a picture of it at 18 inches. I don't care. It's never going to get dug up back there in the back and Schedule 80 pipe and all that. It's just nothing's going to happen to it. But anyways, so I then said, and we were going to do the visual or the virtual inspection for the guy, and basically he calls you on a number, you download an app and you get it on your phone, you just walk around and he just tells you what to take a picture of. But when they were here, I said, when you guys get done, do you want to do that with the inspector? And they said, yeah, we'll do it. So he called the inspector, had the inspector call him when they were done, or when the inspector was ready. They got the ditches fixed up and dug out, and they got everything ready to go. The guy called about 3:45. The thing was supposed to be at 4. 3:45 he calls the electrician. He and I are out there together. We walk into the shed. He starts having a, we start showing him everything. There was just a couple of minor little things. There was a ring that should have gone on top of the pipe inside the box, that an abrasion ring that needed to go on there. He'll put that on there. The guy said that's okay as long as you put it on there. And come to find out, because we're calling it a shed and it's not a room, which you don't want to call it a room, you want to call it a shed, or boy, you'll be in for all kind of inspections. But anyway, it's a shed. Because it's a shed, if it's a shed or a garage, they have the receptacles have to be 18 inches off the floor. Why, I don't know. But anyways, the shed was already 6 inches up off the ground on a metal frame, and then they put it 14 inches up on the wall. To me, that should be sufficient for water protection. But nevertheless, they made his guys move the boxes up 4 inches. They had them at 14 inches. Apparently in a house you can have them you have them 14, in a garage 18. So they just pulled the nails out, moved the boxes up, pounded them back in. He took a picture, sent it to the guy, and I was able to witness on my electrician's phone the electrical approval on the phone. So the rough-in electrical is done. I have the number of 3 of his personnel at the electric company that's doing the job, so that I can, if I can't get a hold of the owner, I can get a hold of 2 other guys. So whenever the sheetrock gets done, and the sheetrock guy is going to come tomorrow, he's very reliable, and I know for a fact he'll be here. He's the general contractor. He's going to see how much sheetrock he needs to get, and he needs to, I have some insulation left over from the shed we tore down that he's going to try and reuse, save us some money on just rebuying more insulation, and that's okay with me. So he's going to see how much of that he needs tomorrow, and then he's tied up on a job right now, but he and his crew will be here on Monday and start putting up sheetrock. Once the sheetrock goes up and they tape and texture, then it can be painted. Of course, the electricians can then come back, hook up all the plugs, get everything hooked up, and then we can get a final inspection on the electrical, and the room at that point will basically be done. Another interesting thing I found out too is here in our town, when you have a shed, if you have an outside light, which I had them drill it out the side of the shed right in the corner, just around the corner from the door, that's not acceptable. It's a law that you have to have a light. If you're going to put electric in the building, you have to have a light over the door or near the end of the door. He wasn't specific, pardon me, but his words were over the door. Well, Robin was going to make me that, or she did have that plate made for my birthday that I'm going to put up there that has the railroad name on it. So I asked her, and I put it up above in the eave, and not in the eave, but the pitch. And they said yes. So anyway, they had to run me another line over there, tied to the same one that's on the side. You guys may remember my telephone light that was in the garage. That's going to go on the side of the shed. And I think it's not here. Out in the garage, I have a motion sensor that will go on that. And then I'm going to buy a motion sensor light for over the garage door. So there will be 2 motion lights, one around the corner from the other. That's just the way it'll be, because I want my phone light out there. And that's fine with me. They won't be on a switch or anything. They'll just be on the motion. That being said, everything else was hunky-dory after we got the pipe down to where it needed to be. They covered up the ditch. They put all the rock back perfectly. They did everything. I mean, it was, and the guy, the electrician, after all the bitching I did about it, he was very nice today. He was pleasant. He wasn't upset. He wasn't, didn't treat me like a second-class citizen just because I had complained. And that was nice. That was refreshing. So anyway, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get all this done in about a week and a half from now. And hopefully I can start working on a layout. And I know that that's good news for me, and maybe it's good news for you. But it'll stop the boredom that's taking place here. So anyway, I'm just going to show you just a brief thing on the computer here of the very tiny change that I've made to the layout plan. And that's what we'll go with. So anyway, we're moving on to that, and we'll see you guys. Okay, and we're going to take a quick look at this again tonight because I have only made a very slight change, but it was a very important change. I moved, we're using the cheapo pencil today. Anyway, I moved these 2 tracks closer to the outside 2 tracks that are underneath, simply because then I can cut the foam right along this, in between the yard and those tracks there, so that the incline and the root up and the root down have clearance between my either 1-inch or 2-inch foam, which I haven't decided what I'm going to use yet. But anyway, you can see that these 2 tracks will be out far enough that this foam can be cut right down, the 2-inch foam, if it happens to be that, can be cut right down here. and that will allow room for these to go up and down behind that, and then I can cover over the top of that with scenery. So that's kind of the game plan, and I think those are the only things that I've changed. To change that, I took a couple of little pieces out over here and over here to bring, no, not over here. Where did I take them out? I took them out over here somewhere, over in here somewhere. So I could just bring that yard just out just 1.5 inches or so, and then squeeze those together. So that's the only change on the plan. I've stared and stared and stared at it. I'm done staring at it, and I'm convinced that this is what I want. And this is what we're going to go with. So anyway, all the good news that you heard, I hope to start implementing in little over a week. Okay, everybody, hope you enjoyed that little update 15. As you can see, very good news. And I know for a fact, as I said, that my sheetrock guy will be here tomorrow to see how much sheetrock he needs to get and how much extra insulation he needs. And he will start working on Monday, he assured me. And knowing the speed with which they work, he will probably be done taping, texturing, and everything by Friday, probably. And we're also, as I said, going to have him paint. So it's looking like next week, the beginning of the following week, it'll be a train room, not just a shed. So, that being said, you know what I say. Thanks for watching.